I want you to give him a round of applause. I'm going to bring my applause because he deserves this applause and more. Welcome. Woo! Captain Kevin Jr. is in the house, y'all. He's in the building. He's in
Hey
the building.
Nicole, how you doing?
I am good. I am good. How lest we forget. Gloria Small is already on lest we forget. We're not gonna forget because Kevin is gonna make sure we remember
Amen.
lest
Amen.
we forget. How's your day been going, my brother?
You know, it's been a fabulous day. Talked to some friends today. I was out speaking to some young Canadians about the importance of Remembrance Day, and then rushed back to come and talk to you.
And I am so happy that you're here. And I know it's going to be a supercalifragilistic conversation tonight because we had some technical. Folks, we were on the line chatting. All of a sudden, audio went out. I said, Kevin, that means we're going to have this really great conversation. So share, share, share. So now I want to know, just like everybody else, I am so curious about these letters behind your name, MMM and then CD. It sounds like you're a musician, but I know that's not what it is.
Uh, so the MMM, it's a member of the Order of Military Merit, and to put that in general speak, that is the highest award you can get in the military outside of combat. Um, so I was blessed to be nominated for this, and I received it when Michael Jean was the Governor General of Canada, and I was able to go to Rideau Hall with family and receive this award from her. So you can imagine, as a Black man going to Rideau Hall to be recognized by a Black Governor General. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, and it's an award that 0.1% of the Canadian forces can ever get it. So again, it's a blessing and an honor. CD is a Canadian Forces decoration. So after serving 12 years within the forces, you are entitled to a CD, and after that you get bars. So every other 10 years you get another bar on your CD, and I got two, so that means I'm old.
No, it means you're seasoned. It means even though you got a little pepper, the pepper spray on here, you're seasoned, well seasoned and well experienced in the many fields. So, I mean, like to get those, how did that make you feel to have that? As you reflect on, I can't even imagine you not seeing really Black men in the military. How did you feel to get that?
First of all, I thought it was unbelievable. When I heard through the grapevine that I was nominated, I was like, wow. And then I was at home, and I received the letter from the commander of the army
Wow.
congratulating me on getting this. And I showed it to my daughter, and she laughed. She goes, "Daddy, like, why you? What did you do?"
She didn't know, she didn't get it. She didn't know she had a
um,
celebrity at home.
well, listen, I might be a celebrity outside the house, but in the house,
No.
no, no. I'm just, when Di's finished, she'll look around and say, "The kitchen's yours."
Okay then. Okay then. The joys and the love of families. How did you and the family make out during the pandemic?
Um, the pandemic for them was different than for most, because I was overseas for a good chunk of it. Um,
Really?
I was deployed to Jordan from June 2020 until February 2021.
Wow, Kevin.
So it was the challenge of the pandemic was there, but there was an additional challenge of me not being at home, right? And thank God for Facebook
Mhm.
and all the social media and we all have iPhones, so we could talk each day,
Yeah.
and I could check in. So this deployment was more of a blessing in that I could actually talk to them every day. In general, the family's doing well. My granddaughter had a little bit of a challenge. You know, she wanted to be in school, so
Yeah.
it was like, come on, let's get on with it. For my wife and my daughter working at home, God bless them. They're both in the same room at each time, and you know they still support each other. So that was good. Um, my son, he lives in Ottawa, so you know he did okay working from home.
Hmm.
But for me, the pandemic was, as I said, mainly in Jordan, and lockdown in Jordan is lockdown, not like in Ontario where you know you can still go out. There,
You're
if they say
locked.
lockdown, you're not outside.
Wow. What did you learn about yourself?
Um, I I learned that I actually like myself, um, because it's not easy for you to actually just live with yourself. And
Hmm.
you know, I shared an apartment with one of my colleagues, but I still had time to myself, and I had a lot of time to reflect on what life is all about.
Hmm.
Looking and seeing, as my daughter would say, the access to privilege that I have. Right. During the pandemic, I was able to go to the Jordan River and see where Jesus was baptized. I was able to stand on Mount Nebo at the spot where Moses looked over into the Promised Land.
Wow.
Right. You know, Petra, one of the seven wonders of the world. Go to Petra and see what's there. And again, it turned out to be a blessing for me, um, that God actually opened up opportunities for me to be able to see a different part of the world, and at the same time give back to the country, because my job was as a project officer. So you know, I was managing a number of projects that the Canadian government had sponsored in Jordan. So I'm working with other non-governmental agencies and you know other government agencies to make sure that the country of Jordan is better than they were when we got there. And probably one of my best moments or memory was I had to lead a gender integration seminar.
Mm.
And as you know, women in that part of the world is not looked at in the same light
Right.
as in North America. So I was able to um, build on the experience from previous Canadians that were there. And um, basically, I changed the model that they were using. We would actually go to Jordan and we would have, you know, a panel discussion, and we would talk to them and tell them what to do. Whereas my feel was, we've been doing that for a number of years. Let's now see what they've done. Let's see what knowledge they have, and get them to share knowledge among themselves, and see how they can use their own knowledge to build that platform. And thank God it was accepted, and that's now the model that the Canadian government will be using going forward. Right, so it was a great experience.
You know, there's so many questions running through my head just thinking of you. Just that experience going to Jordan in the pandemic, leaving your family, not knowing what this virus was about. Like, how did you navigate all of that, and then being in a different country, navigate all of that in your mind, dealing with gender equality? Kevin, I'm going to say Captain Kevin. I my God.
Uh, you know, I have to thank God every day for how he helped me and guided me through this. Um, Now it was challenging to leave the family, period,
Hmm.
right? But I'm married to a strong Black woman, right? The reason I can do some of the things that I do is because I know her strength, and sometimes I pull her out of her comfort zone. But at the end of the day, we know that God is in charge. And I didn't really know what I was going to get into when I got there. But once I got there, you know, the boss said, Kevin, this is what we want, and my job is to deliver. So I just got on it and just started to make things happen.
Yeah, your wife is phenomenal, and so we're giving your wife her flowers tonight. When I get that big budget, we're sending her a big bouquet of flowers, totally a big bouquet of flowers, because she's holding it down, and I can't even imagine. We need to have a show with the wives, the military wives, like what they do and how they navigate, and they must be a lot of fear that they must feel, like wondering, is my loved one going to come home, but as a husband and as a father, how do you navigate and deal with the mental wellness of yourself and of your family being deployed?
Um, this deployment wasn't as difficult as my first one. My first deployment was to Sierra Leone, West Africa.
Oh,
And unlike in Jordan, where I had access to a phone, I could FaceTime every day and whatever. When I was in Sierra Leone, um, my phone only worked once in a while. Every 17 days, I was back in an area where I could actually use a phone and phone home. That was more of a difficult one because my children were younger. My son was about 17, I believe, at the time, 16, 17. So he was more of a handful.
oh,
My daughter was just getting ready for university, and you know, I remember she was filling out her application, and she goes, Daddy, this is stuff that we usually do together. And she sent me. Um, I was at a place where I had access to email, and I said, "Well, send me the document you're working on," and I was able to, help her to fix it, and then she was able to send it off. But it was a big challenge. The the environment was a lot more difficult at the time,
mm-hmm.
and I couldn't really tell them what I was doing sometimes because, I mean, the danger level there was very, very different. Um, and unlike in Jordan, where I had a routine where they know that I was going to phone home at this time every day,
Right.
in Sierra Leone, I couldn't do that because I didn't know and I didn't want them to worry. Right now, if anything went wrong while I was there, I would phone home one way or the other because I
Yeah.
want them to know I was okay. Right. So those were the way that we had to manage the situations at that time, and knowing that I didn't have a routine, they didn't expect that I was going to phone
Mm-hmm.
every day at 3 o'clock. So when I got a chance to phone, I did. And even though I was there doing my mission, when I'm by myself, it's thinking about family. What are they doing? How
Yes.
how are they doing it? Um, not to mention being in the home of the land of the ancestors,
Mm.
and all the all the pieces that I had to deal with because I mean racism was real while I was there. Um, the Some of the people that I was working with from other countries were as racist as you could get, but
Wow.
thank God that I had a drum. That when they actually got to me, I went to my room and I played the drums,
Really?
and that was it.
See, I see we're learning something. I'm telling you, we named this really well. The man behind the uniform. So Kevin, you played it. Wait, do you know which drum you were playing? Was it the
It,
djembe?
it was a djembe.
Was it? I just had a feeling you're a djembe
Yes.
kind. That might be. I could hear you talk. I could even see you using like a talking drum. But the djembe, I could definitely see you beating on the djembe. A great way to manage stress and release and you know and share. Um, as I said, there's so many things, and I'm gonna give you some flowers right now because Sarah Yango is on here. Big up all our military spouses and children. Wendy is on here. Blessings, everyone. And yes, thank you for your service. And I mean, for those of you now joining live and on the replay, I am talking to Captain Kevin. And we're going to learn about the man behind the uniform. He has been, I don't know, I don't even know how long I've known Kevin. I've known about him longer than I've known him. But I know I'm going to learn lots about him tonight that I have never learned. And I hope you share this show with your friends because there's so much that we are grateful to you for, not just for your service in the military, but for you as a human being in the earth. And so you mentioned something there, and I know a little something about you. You said your son was 17. Now, let's really get to know the man. Didn't you join the military around that age?
I was 17 when I joined the military.
Wow. Like, how did you even, I mean, at 17, what drew you to this profession that is so dangerous? You don't see a lot of black men in, and you're in Canada. I know we're peacekeepers and we're kind and we're loving and all that great stuff, but let's be real. How did you even get drawn to this, Kevin?
Well, I went to Cedarburg Collegiate. I lived in Scarborough, and we had a the recruiters came to my school, and
Aha.
when they came, you know, there was this man, Sergeant Wayne Johnson. He was wearing his kilt proudly, and as he came in, um, you know, he was talking to me, and he said he'd give me a summer job for as long as I wanted, because again, it's a Canadian Forces Reserve, so it's one night a week, 1 week in a month, and during the summer I could be employed all summer. I said, hey, that's all right. I've been making money and I'll be having fun. I was an athlete. It'll be all right. And I said to him, you know, you're wearing that skirt. Um, as long as I don't have to wear the skirt, it's all right. He goes, okay, you don't have to wear the skirt. But I'll tell you, he lied to me. As soon as my recruit course was over, they fitted me for my kilt. You notice I switched from the skirt to the kilt. So I joined the Toronto Scottish, where I started serving, and I was able to go through the ranks, and I was employed every summer that I wanted it, and that paid my way through school, and I had a great time.
The skirt to the kilt. I like how you switched that up. I went from the skirt to the kilt. Um, you know the question everybody wants to ask about what's under that kilt. But I'm
No,
not going
I'll
to
tell you, I'll tell you. When you look at me and you look under the kilt, all that I wear is my boots, my socks, my garters, and my ski and do, which is a knife. And that's
Wow.
all that is under the kilt. So let
Wow.
your imagination run wild now.
Do you get lots of questions about that kilt?
Every time I wear it.
I could only imagine. And okay, as a black man wearing a kilt, has there been some a bit of a has there been any downside to that?
Uh, you know, I'm going to tie this to the number 2 construction battalion.
Okay.
In World War One, when black men wanted to fight, the government of Canada told them that they couldn't fight, and the only reason they couldn't fight was because they're black, right? Um, they actually went to a kilted regiment in Toronto, and when they asked if they could join, they said, by the way, we're a kilted regiment, and black people don't wear kilts, and they don't look good in kilt. So it's going all the way back then. And then here I am in 1980. I put on the kilt, and yeah, there's a black joke and whatnot. But you know what? I wore that kilt proudly. I wore it right before the Governor General of Canada. God bless her. You're muted.
Of course I'm muted, Kevin. Of course I'm muted. It's that kind of a show today. I said we're going to show that video tonight. And so, but hold on, because I'm thinking of your story. You're wearing a Scottish kilt, but I don't think most people. Let's reverse. And Trinidad, we would say reverse back. Let's reverse back a second because you're Canadian, However, you were not born in Canada.
Nope.
Where were you born, Kevin? Share with the people.
I was born in England, in Birmingham, England. When my mom decided to return to Jamaica with or us, myself and my two sisters. So we left from England, went to Jamaica, where I lived that life of a lot of Caribbean children live with my grandmother. If you look over this shoulder and you look at that picture right by my thumb,
Right.
that's my grandmother. I lived with her as a baby until I was 10 years old. And then when she passed away, my mom took us to Canada and been here ever since.
Wow, that is a story. And they're coming in there. Wendy's like Scarborough boy. I don't know how to say that in a Canadian way, eh? And you're giving your kudos tonight. Blessings, man of God. Thank you for your service. Hopefully, Andy, I said it in a voice that could kind of reflect a little bit of mill, inflection there. So being born in England, going into the Scottish, wow, I'm just seeing the synergy there. And then going to Jamaica, how has all these little interceptions made you into the man that you are today?
My family and friends, they make it very clear that I'm not the average Black man.
What does that mean?
I see things from a diverse perspective. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of haggis, which is a
Of course.
Scottish meal. Now I will go and buy some haggis and just sit down and eat my haggis and just enjoy it.
Right.
And then after I'm finished my haggis, I'll have some jerk chicken and I'm good to go.
Kevin, that is so funny. That I'm just thinking, because I lived in Wales for a while, and I'm just thinking of Scottish haggis, and I'm like, okay, with jerk chicken, that's just interesting synergy. But this is probably why you can adapt so well to something like the military, and then adapt so well to going to various parts of the world. How did your grandmother influence you?
She was my world.
Mm.
As I grew up, she made sure that I realized that I was special. She taught me that the values that I live by today, I was taught by her, right? She made me realize that I'm a man and I should always be a man. I should be responsible. I should be respectful, and I should be accountable for my actions. So when I move around and I do things, just like you can see her almost sitting on my left shoulder right now, as I go through life, that's what happens. My grandmother established that foundation. My mother then took it that much further, and then my wife took it from there, and then my daughter took it from there, take it further, and then my granddaughter came in and took me even further. So the man that you're talking tonight, it's a man that's been developed by what's that, 2, 3, 4, 5 generation of women who've taught me different things, right? And you might say, well, how can my daughter teach me? I thank God that I had a daughter before I had a son, because when I had her, she would want to play tea parties. If I had a son first, I'd say, girl, go
We're not doing a tea party. And then you're a military guy, all this testosterone.
Yes.
What's happening here?
Right. But I had all these strong women, and then I've got a little girl that's saying, Daddy, be gentle, be with me. Let's have a tea party. And now my granddaughter is here, and she called me GP. GP. I'm feeling like some Red Lobster tonight. So let's go to dinner. And, how do I say no?
How do you say no to that? So hearing about the woman in your life and being a man and now your son, what does fatherhood mean to you, and how has fatherhood played a role in life? Because I'm hearing you talk about your mom, your grandmother, your wife, and I think about the story of you meeting your father and the impact of that. But when I think about fatherhood for you, what was fatherhood for you? Let's start with you and your son, because your father wasn't around in the beginning, right?
Right, right. My mother got married before I came to Canada. So I've got a stepfather who, I mean, he's a good man, but that father-son relationship was never really there,
Mm,
right? My mom was still that iron fist. I I decided in my mind that I will be the father that I never had. So when my daughter was born, it was easy to be that father. When my son was born, it was easy to be that father because I looked at the things that I didn't have, the relationships I didn't have. And in life, I look at a balance and I take all the negative that's in and put it in my left hand. And my goal is to move everything from my left hand to my right hand. So I will look at the negative in my left hand,
right.
develop a way or strategy to make it into a positive, and then it now goes to my right hand, and then I move on and keep on carrying on to do whatever I need to do to make sure that my right hand is full of those
Hold
things.
on,
And
hold
my
on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Did you guys get a piece of pen and paper before you came on? If I didn't tell you, you may have to rewind that on the replay. The left hand and the right. Kevin, I was disobedient to myself. I'm bringing my paper closer because that right there was life changing. The way that you're practically showing us how we can take what's negative in one hand and basically finding the opportunity in the crisis. So you're going to have to repeat that lesson again because I need it to sink in. Because sometimes you have to hear something more than once. I need that to sink into my little hard headed brain here. I don't know how you guys are feeling in victory world out there, but I need that. I need that one more time.
yeah, my concept is there's going to be a lot of negative things in life. I lived in subsidized housing.
Right.
People look down on me, and I took it as okay, that's negative from their perspective, but I got a roof over my head,
Mm,
so it's now good, all right, and I'm okay with that. We're paying the rent every month. I'm okay with that. So, I would look at all the different things that happen in life that are negative, and in my mind, I need to work out how do I make this into a positive thing, right?
yes.
And and anybody can be upset at the world, right? But when I look at that also is you look at zero as the baseline, and the idea is to go up. It takes a lot of energy to go below zero. You've got to dig that hole so you can go down, and I don't
Mm,
have time to waste that energy. So let me look at where I am, what I can change. And now I'm not saying that it's always easy to change, but
right.
I'll take the time, and if I can't change it now, then it's time for me to put it aside and let me change something else, right? Because there's enough bad that's out there, right?
Right.
So my job is to, um, the low hanging fruit. Let me get those and change those first, and then once I develop into a rhythm, then I learn from the different experiences, and then I can go back to a bigger problem and I can try to resolve that one. And as I resolve that one, then I can move it to my right hand and move forward.
That is not just powerful, it's power filled. So now you're recognizing that you want to be a different type of man, a different type of human being. And so what was the impact now meeting your father, because you met your father in your 20s?
Yeah.
How did you end up meeting your dad?
Um, The colonel-in-chief for my regiment was a queen mom, and the queen mom turned 90, and I think it was 1990. She
Right.
turned 90. And I was selected by my regiment to go back to England to her birthday celebration.
That's awesome.
And when I went to England, after the celebration, we had a couple of days off, and I went to see my uncle who lived in Birmingham. And he was going to see his best friend. And my mom told me three things about my dad. His surname was Hutchinson. He was my uncle's best friend, and he was an engineer on a train. So when I went to see my uncle, he was going to see his friend, so we went with him. My youngest brother went with me. And when we got to Mr. Hutchinson's home, we were introduced to him, and I kind of, Mr. Hutchinson, and he's my uncle's best friend. And then as we're talking, he asked me, so how's your mom? So I said, you know my mother? He goes, oh, yes. I knew your mom when she was here. And then I heard that he recently retired from being an engineer on a train. And the three things that my mom told me about my dad, those three things was right before me. So
Wow.
I took a video of Mr. Hutchinson, and I knew in my head that was my father. And
Did he know? Did
he
he know
didn't
you
know.
were?
He didn't know.
Oh, okay. I'm leaning in. I'm leaning in.
So I took a video, and I got home. I said, Mom, I just met my dad. And she looked at me, and I showed her the video, and she go, yeah, that's your dad.
Wow, Kevin.
Yeah, yeah. Now we developed a relationship after that.
Okay.
A very strong relationship that I would go to England regularly to spend time with him. As a matter of fact, I showed up one day for his birthday. He didn't even know I was coming, and my sister opened the door and said, your gift is here.
No,
And
that's splendid.
and I walked in to help him celebrate his birthday.
Oh, that's special. That is special. And to think that you didn't meet him till you were 27. And what I love is in just hearing your voice that there was love. There somehow you garnered to have a really good relationship, which so many men don't end up having with their fathers, especially when they haven't really known them
Right.
for so many parts of their life. And what made you? What is it that was in you that kind of like made you say, I really want to develop this relationship with my father?
Um, when I was a boy, I saw other children with their father, and I always wanted a father.
Mm,
And here I met my father, and regardless of whatever happened, why we weren't together, that was all behind me. And if you go back to my philosophy of the left hand, right hand,
yes.
this was an opportunity to now turn this relationship in a right hand relationship. And it wasn't about me. It was about me. It was about him. It was about my children. It was about my family. And here's an opportunity for my children to now get to know their grandfather. I have ailments right now that I now know that I have it because of him. I have blessings now that I have because of him. So I am a carbon copy of the man. The way I think, the way I walk, the way I laugh, my overall attitude, it's a carbon copy of him. And now I link that to my son.
Mm,
My son is a carbon copy of me, right? And my role is to have the relationship with my son that I didn't have with my father, and to let my son know that he's loved, let my daughter know that she's loved, and that Daddy's always here. And as I've always said to them, is regardless of whatever I accomplish, the roles that I play, it will never be as significant as me being daddy.
That Wendy said it well. Great story. It's impactful, it's inspirational, and it makes you think. And I hope that, you know, there's so many lessons out of that story, Kevin, of how we need to put certain things aside, and relationship is more important, and love is more important, and care is more important, and so much there. And I think of you as a young man at 27 years old. I think of you as a man that you are now as a father, and in the military. What would you say? And you were mentored. What would you say is advice that you would probably give to a young Black man watching the show now? And I would also in particular say to mothers and fathers, because I'm sure you encounter so much being in the military. And I was now outside of the military too, but in the military, I'm sure, because you spent a hot minute in there.
It, as I look at things, I'd say be true to yourself.
Hmm.
Be yourself, and don't give the power to anybody else to determine who you are. Right? In life, we give power to our bosses, we give power to other individuals, and they will determine what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, how we're going to do it, and all that. I choose not to do that. I choose to respectfully challenge the system, challenge the process, so that I have a voice. For generations, our voice was taken away. We had people who would tell us, "Well, you can't do this, you can't do that." Well, you know what? God bless you. You can think that, but my name is Kevin R. Junor. I am the son of Joyce J. Junor, and the son of Victor Hutchinson, and I'm created by God to influence people. So say what you want, do what you want, but at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I think is right. And I was brought up to know right from wrong. So I'm not just going to sit there and allow anyone to just push me around, but I'm going to let you know that I live in one of the best countries in the world, and there's the Charter of Rights that tells me that, Kevin, you can do this, and you should expect to be treated in a certain manner. So um, know your rights, stand up for your rights, and also be respectful in doing it. And if we fail from taking care of ourselves, then we've failed our family, we've failed our parents, we've failed our ancestors. It's time for us to stand up and say, by the way, I'm here, I'm in the room, and I have a voice. I listen, but I also have a voice.
You say the word respectful a few times there. What does that respect look like when you have to go into certain rooms, have certain conversations, most times being the only Black man, and most times being the only Black person in the room, and having to come against a system? And not just the military, because you're not just a military man. You're a man who you're doing finance, you're doing community, you're pastoring, you're a man of many hats.
Um, Respect is a massive word, and respect is not being a welcome mat.
Mm,
Respect is there's a competence called political acuity, right?
okay.
And political acuity is knowing where you are, knowing the power brokers, knowing who's making the decision, and knowing how to use the system to your advantage.
Hmm.
So, therefore, in being respectful, is I will go into a room and I will listen to the conversation. And then when I listen to the conversation, then I will do the analysis of what is being said. And then I will determine where I fit into that conversation. Because we don't fit into all conversations.
Come on
Sometimes
now.
sometimes it's best to just sit down and let people talk, right? But when I do open my mouth, I'm going to have an impact. I'm going to influence somebody, and I'm going to let them know that Kevin has spoken, right? And I, and it's not saying it in a way that it's about ego or whatever, but it's saying it in a way that I'm there and I'm not there to waste time.
Come on now.
I've had conversation with a number of black men that I've mentored, or just having a conversation, say, well, if I go to the room and they lock the door, I'll just kick down the door and go in the boardroom. And I said, well, that's a good concept. It'll get you in the door, but they'll just move out of that room and go to another room.
That's right. Or they
Right.
just turn their ears off. They just tune out.
Right. But if you apply a different strategy in which you stay at the door and you listen to the conversation, and as they're coming out of the boardroom, you make a statement based on the conversation that they're having, and they'll say, "Oh, Kevin made a statement. Kevin, what did you say?" And
Hmm.
then before you know it, I become an advisor. And when I become an advisor, they will bring me in the boardroom at the back row. I'm not sitting at the table, but I'm at the back row. And when they need my advice, they'll come to me. But the next phase is they'll actually bring me to the row right behind them. So they don't have to walk back to get me anymore. And before you know it, I'm sitting at the table, right? At the table as an advisor. And then I became a member of that inner circle. And before you know it, I'm the chairman of the board.
Come on now. You see, this is wisdom here. They're taking notes. I know Wendy's taking a lot of notes tonight. I don't know where the rest of you are, but Wendy is for sure taking a lot of notes. And Brenda took some notes, and Brenda said, "This is really inspiring. Indeed, we need to go and seize the opportunity. Thank you for your service, Kevin." I mean, they're coming in. Listen, my friends, drop your comments, your thoughts, your questions, because this is truly treasurable. Such wisdom. Um, Elder Andrea Boye is saying, Gloria is giving you your hand claps, as I say, your flowers, as the Americans would say. And it's such an honor to sit and speak with you, because you're a trailblazer in our community. And for those of you who've never met Kevin, I'm gonna challenge you, even after this conversation, go learn about him. Um, his footsteps have created many paths for many people. And so tonight you see Captain Kevin Jr. here. And it's interesting. Here's a little behind the scenes story, folks. So we were like, Kevin, should you wear the uniform? Should you not wear the uniform? We're just gonna be transparent here. And even up to before showtime, we were like, and do you know, when we were trying to have that conversation, we had every technical difficulty in the world. And I know God was saying, we're not wearing a uniform tonight, because it really speaks to the man behind the uniform. Because so many times people will say, so, hi, Captain Kevin or Kevin Jr., tell us who you are. And people start to say your profession, and they don't learn about the man. And so I hope tonight you're going to learn about the mind, his is all that brings him to who he is today. And so we're going to go back to the military for a hot minute. And as I think, as we're coming up to Veterans Day, on the 11th, I got my little puppy here. I got my small one, so they tell me to be careful. I'm going to lean in so you can see my puppy. Um, so I can put it on anything and I don't get pinned. Um, but when you look back, and you've done a lot of work, Kevin, I've been fortunate enough to when we held the Black Veterans events, um, and you're there. But when you look back in military history, what inspired you? Who inspired you? Like, to even, and I know you mentioned the number two battalion. And if you don't know who the number two battalion is, there's a little documentary somewhere. But tell us about the inspirations in the military for you.
As I moved through the military, there's a lot of challenges.
Mm.
And as we fought those battles, there was a point when I became a sergeant and things changed, because this was a position where I can really make things happen. I was starting to become a person of influence. And then I got to a position where I was knocking on the door of authority, door of power. And I met a man, Chief Warrant Officer Jim Fraser. He was a Black man. He was the Sergeant Major for all of Ontario. And when I met Jim, he took me under his wings, and he became my mentor. He became my guide. And I had individuals that was where racism really kicked in, where I had people who were preventing me from getting promoted. I had people who were telling me I couldn't do my job. And at one point, when I wasn't into fighting the battle anymore, I'm struggling moving things from my left hand to my right hand. And I went to Jim, and he, being in a position of power, he made one phone call, and it changed the entire dynamics of, I'd say, that battle. And to this day, Jim is one of those individuals who, for me, he can do no wrong. And literally, he changed my life in the military completely.
So there's a need and an importance for the support of other military personnel, supporting each other and helping them along. I can definitely hear that, and lots of opportunities, Felix A, for young men today into service. Thanks for folks like Kevin Junor. Thanks for your service. So proud of you, little brother. Love you. God bless you. See,
That's
you
my
get a
sister.
I see that. Listen, she said little brother. I know not many people could call you little brother. They would have to have authority to call you little brother. Congratulations, Kevin, on your achievements. We here in Jamaica call him Elder Kevin. Okay, so let me use some respect on my handle tonight. He's captain. He's elder. He's pastor, and to the real queen in the pot, he is grandpa. Because she's the young
GP.
GP. She,
Yes.
she holds everything right now in the palm of her hands. And so, Kevin, you were actually, I think people don't even know there's a difference, because you were um an OPS in the OPS and the Solicitor General. What's the difference? And then the Canadian Armed Forces. Before we get into another factor of your life, what were the different areas in the forces that you were a part of?
So within the forces, so in the OPS was my everyday job. Within the military, it was part-time for most of the time. And within the military, now I was an infantry soldier, digging trenches, shooting, the whole works. I then became a sergeant major within the infantry, and with that, I'm now responsible for up to 120 soldiers, to look after their welfare, their morale, their discipline, their drill, their deportment. And then eventually I was promoted to the Regimental Sergeant Major, which is the most senior non-commissioned officer in the regiment. For the Toronto Scottish Regiment, which turned 100 years old this year, I am the first and only Black Regimental Sergeant Major in the history of the regiment. So I did all of those, but I also had the opportunity to become a diversity advisor, impacting the entire Canadian Armed Forces. So I would advise the senior leadership up to and including the Chief of the Defense Staff with regards to issues impacting visible minorities. So it didn't matter, no matter what race you are, as long as you are considered under the Government of Canada's definition of a visible minority. My job was to advocate on your behalf And in that, we did things such as, when I first started this, Black women were not allowed to have multiple braids. We
Wow.
were all put into the same, um, you know, box as a white woman who
Mhm.
you can put a bun in the back
Yeah.
and roll up your hair.
Yeah.
And I was invited to the dress committee where, after I brought this forward, that we don't do that. And they said, well, Chief Warrant Officer Junor, it's it's a thing that you guys do for style and whatever. And
Excuse me.
my message to them, which I think this was what changed everything, was when I was a boy growing up in Jamaica, I had to get up with my sister, the one that just hailed me up there. I'd get up with her in the morning and we would walk for at least 10 minutes for her to get her hair braided in order
Right.
to get ready for school. And by the way, we didn't do that for fashion. We did that because that was a way of life. And my interaction with that dress committee changed the rules so that today Black women can have multiple braids. They can do that, and there's nobody that's going to hold it against them. So, I was given a position of influence. I was blessed to represent the regiment in England at the Queen Mom's 90th birthday or 100th birthday,
Hmm.
and also at her funeral. So, to be selected
Yeah.
on 3 occasions to go to England, France, Scotland, to represent the regiment like that was a blessing and an honor. To go on exercises with other nations and training in an infantry capacity and advising, again, was quite the honor within my military career. And now that wasn't without its challenges.
Of course.
Um,
Of
I, I
course.
I remember once in England with, when I was a regimental sergeant major, the only person I reported to was the commanding officer, who's a lieutenant colonel. And we were standing there one day, and uh, colonel from another regiment, another country, walked up to us. And you know what I said before? People are having a conversation and you're not really a part of it.
Yes.
When she walked up, she said hello to us that were standing there, but I know she wasn't talking to me.
Mm.
And I stood there and I listened to the conversation. And then her next comment was, she asked my boss, the colonel, if I was his driver.
Excusez-moi, s'il vous plaît. Stop now. Stop now.
So he responded, no, that's my regimental sergeant major. And she said, oh, he looks so young.
Good comeback. He looks so young.
Yes.
And you had to keep a straight face.
Well, you know what? She was a lieutenant colonel, and my job is to respect the lieutenant colonel. So I gave
Right.
her the respect that is due to her rank.
I this is a master class because there's so much in my head again, because when you have to stand there, and I think it would be such an amazing lesson for so many people who we take things personally and we get offended. And how do you navigate when you are offended, or you feel the angst, and you have to still move in the respect of the rank of the person before you? What could you share one tool or two or three um, that you had to condition your mind, or the lessons that you learn in the military, to condition your mind to make sure that you always had this respect, because that's missing so much right now in our world.
And no, I didn't learn that in the military.
Oh, okay.
No. Um, this lady behind me.
The iron.
Uh, so my grandmother and my mother, they taught me respect,
Mm,
and they said it didn't matter who it is. I don't have to like them, but I must respect them.
gotcha.
All right. So as I move around, it's my job to be respectful, and I also demand respect. I
Gotcha.
don't ask for it. I demand it. And if you can't respect me, then we don't have a relationship.
Mm. I hear that. I hear that. I love that. And you're speaking about all these things, and I'm thinking about you traveling and going around the world. And I know you went to Sierra Leone, but you also, like, I remember you sharing stories about the impact of Sierra Leone and then the impact of Ghana. Could you briefly share some of that with the folks so they understand uh, some of that? Because it's a really beautiful story, I think.
When I was in Sierra Leone, I was able to take leave of absence for 2 weeks. So I met my family for a week, and I might come back to that after. But after meeting my family, I went on to Ghana, and when I went to Ghana, I was able to visit Cape Coast and the two castles that were infamous for this slave trade. I walked through the door of no return, and it really impacted me knowing that my ancestors walked through that door without being able to say goodbye to their family or friends. But I was blessed to be able to walk back. And both castles were under renovation at the time. And at home right now, I have two small pieces of rock, one from each castle. But the other piece was in Sierra Leone. There is the Stairs of Freedom, and it is said that any slave returning to Sierra Leone, if you walk up the stairs and you can make it on up to the top, you become free. But mark you, there was a little cave under the stairs, and there are always people there to snatch you when you try to go up the stairs. So I was able to walk up there, and that day, when I did that, I phoned my daughter and said, this is what I'm doing, because I was in Freetown. And she goes, Daddy, walk it for me again. And my son said, walk it for me. So, being able to go to Ghana and see where it all started, and then to go to Freetown to see, we're free. And also to see that the oldest church in Freetown is the Maroon Methodist Church. And the Maroons were Jamaicans who came to Halifax. They completed the Citadel, fought for Canada, and when Canada couldn't deal with them anymore, they sent them on to Freetown. So these people went on to establish there, and I was able to be a part of that. And I mean, it's such a blessing, such a blessing.
I love the stories, and I know people are enjoying the stories. And Sarah, I thank you. I love Sarah Oyango. Okay, Sarah Oyango is like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and she's making sure that we get our information, that I have my information. There's more than a documentary about the number 2 battalion of the World War One. The late Senator Calvin Ruck wrote the book documenting their history. Anthony Sherwood produced a film and the Canada Post stamp, and I loved when that Canada Post stamp was done.
Yes.
And you know what? I'm gonna throw that up. But Kevin, there was a they can probably get a copy. It's gonna be behind us here. So um you had you talk about respect. You've gone to Sierra Leone, you've gone to Ghana, but then you ended up with a trip to Kentucky. What had happened was
I was the sergeant major for an exercise. We took a battalion down to Kentucky. And so we're talking over 400 soldiers. And I was a sergeant major for all of that. And we had to go down before to do our recce to make sure things were going. And we went for the weekend, and we flew in on the Friday night. And as we're listening to the radio, we got in Friday. We're going to leave on Sunday at about 2 o'clock. And we heard an advertisement on the radio saying at 2 o'clock in Louisville, where we flew into, there will be a KKK rally. So come on out and support the KKK. So I was with our Canadian team that went down, and as you could expect, I was the only Black guy that was there.
Holy
so hearing that, it threw me way back into a time zone that I don't even want to think about.
Where men like this, when I think of the men like this, what they may have had to deal with in times like like that, it really speaks volumes. And I'm thinking about, we're going to take like a 1 minute break, because I think we need a part two, because there's a little more I really want to share about Kevin, the man behind the uniform. No, he's not going to put on the uniform. Don't get yourself super excited. This is your like how on TV they got 2 minutes and 30 seconds. You're not getting that long of a break. But we'll be right back. And I just want to show you, when Kevin was, eh, let's just stay tuned and watch what I'm going to show you right now. This is so cool. I'm going to share my screen. Yes, it's just like we're in a Zoom call, but we are not in a Zoom call. And I'm going to share my screen with the great Kevin here. Let's see if we can get this to play so you can see.
At a recent Rideau Hall ceremony, recipients of the Order of Military Merit were honored.
Lors d'une cérémonie tenue récemment au Rideau Hall, un hommage a été rendu aux nouveaux membres de l'Ordre du Mérite militaire.
Hosting us and for her hospitality today, and in upholding the tradition of the Order of Military Merit.
This morning has brought us together to honor exceptional military careers.
Among the numerous recipients, both serving and retired CF members, the Governor General, Her Excellency, the Right Honorable Nicole, invested Chief Warrant Officer Kevin Junor as a member of the Order of Military Merit.
Parmi les nombreux membres des forces canadiennes actifs et à la retraite, ainsi honorés, la gouverneure générale, son Excellence la très honorable Michaël Jean, a accordé à l'adjudant-chef Kevin Junor le titre de membre de l'Ordre du Mérite militaire.
The Canadian Forces right now is in a position where we can maximize on opportunities that are out there. We have immigration at a high point. We have individuals who are interested in the Canadian Forces, and we must really take advantage of bringing them in.
Kevin, like, I am just like stoked. I'm trying my best not to cry. And what was that like? I can still see the smile, the amazing smile on your face. Okay, let me set the context. Welcome back, folks. Welcome back to the Victory Speak Show. We just had a moment watching the amazing Captain Kevin Junor, receive a commendation. The letters behind his name, MMM and CD. I'm gonna let him tell you again, because if you missed the beginning of the show, you need to catch up and go back. But he was, listen, at that point, I want to say, like, you were anointed, appointed, all sorts of things happened in that moment. And it's like the smile that's coming out of your face is just so cool. So welcome back, folks. So Kevin, let's tell them again. What does the MMM and the CD after your name stand for?
So the MMM is member of the Order of Military Merit. And to put that in context, it is the highest award you can be given in the military outside of a combat zone. And there's a chart for different awards, and this is one of the top national awards that you can get here in Canada. So, I was really humbled. And if you look there, that's the pin of the Order of Military Merit that is also given to us that we wear. Without saying too much, there aren't too many individuals who have that award. Now, CD is a Canadian Forces decoration. So anyone who serves 12 years in the military and were not disciplined during that period of time will get the Canadian Forces decoration. You're muted.
Mute. Of course I'm mute, Kevin, because you mute me all the time. The fun things in life, producing your own show. Andy's big it up. Sarah is asking a really good question, which you probably get, I don't know, maybe once a week. When do we get the autobiography? So many lessons in service and leadership, military and community. I concur, Sarah. I actually asked him that question today. And we're gonna get him with a writer. I don't know if Dwayne Wellington is on the line, but he's a veteran from the US, and Dwayne is an editor. So Dwayne, we're calling on you. I hope you're out there listening. So because we need you to team up with we're gonna get the troops behind you. You got Sarah there in the media. Yes, so many people, Kevin. You got Kathy Grant. So many people will garner around you to help you write this book. I'm telling you, people will come out of retirement to help you write this. So what made you retire from the military? Are you really retired? That's probably a better question. Did you really retire?
Well, let me answer that in a couple ways. I'm retired from my civilian career.
Okay.
Right. So I spent over 33 years in the Ontario Public Service. Right. And the best part of my career in the Ontario Public Service was the last 10 years. I got an email from the Deputy Minister of Corrections, and he said, "Kevin, you ever thought about bringing your talents to corrections?" And I kind of said no. He said, "Well, I would like you to come to corrections and let's have a conversation." And after a couple of conversations with his assistant deputy minister, meeting with my family and praying about it, I got the uniform to be a deputy superintendent in a institution, in a jail, in a prison.
Wow.
And it was one of the best decisions I made in my Ontario Public Service career, bar none.
I am I thought it was actually happening inside of your career, so that happened after. And so that part of your career, I should say, that part of your military service. So now you've done that, and then what happens?
So again, remember, I live
See why I need the book, Kevin? See why we need the book? Okay, just saying. See why we need the book. Okay, go ahead.
So I live a double life. I'm a military man, but also in the Ontario Public Service.
Hold on.
Right.
So what do we call you? 007, 008? What do you? I don't know. I'm just saying. So you lead a double life.
So as a reservist in the military, I do that part-time.
Okay.
Right. But as a full-time employee of the Ontario Public Service, I started in the Ministry of Transportation, where I was a civil engineering technician, which is what I studied. And then I got kind of bored. So I went to research. And after that, I got bored again, and I went to policy. And then I went from that to learning and development, and then to project and change management. And then I moved from there to the Ontario Public Service Diversity Office. And it was there that corrections came and got me to do that. So that's 33 and a half years of doing that while doing the military on the side.
Well, here comes Sarah Oyangle. 00 Kevin. That's it right there. 00 Kevin. Twice the citizen, says Felix. Yes, yes, yes. I love my victory listeners here. They're right in the conversation. This is why I do the show live. I don't think I could get this energy if I tape this show. So you're doing all of this and you're transitioning. So, and I am seeing that you you did this merger, creating this new financial institution. You're a pastor, strategic advisor. What's happening? So tell us life after this part of public service, because this is the other part of the man behind the mask, behind the uniform, Double O Kevin. I like
Well,
that. Double O Kevin,
don't
the
know, Kevin.
captain.
So while I was working in the OPS, I was approached by then the Provincial Alliance Credit Union to be on their board of directors, and eventually I accepted. And things didn't go the way that the board wanted. So there was a conversation, like they do in politics, and I was approached to be if I would be the chairman of the board, and I accepted it. And then my mandate was to grow the credit union. At the time, we were worth about $100 million, and we had to grow because credit unions were falling by the way. And I was able to lead the process with my CEO at the time to find an appropriate merger partner. And we found a partner that was 2.5 times our size.
Wow.
So we merged to create a new organization that was $350 million. And in doing that, we maintained that we had half of our board intact. And yes, normally this would be a takeover.
Yeah.
But we were able to go in and negotiate that half of our board were intact. We had the other side had one more than us, and we committed to all the employees that nobody would lose a job. And and I became the inaugural chairman of the board for the new organization that became Rapport Credit Union. So making the promise to all the employees, the first year and a half as a chairman of the board, we would move around, myself and the CEO, to all of the branches so that they would see us, and that we would stick by our word that nobody would lose their jobs, and nobody did. So, I mean, these were some of the things that kept me going. And, not to mention my activities at church. So this was me. This is how I've been blessed.
Don't just skip over the church, because they need to know that they need to call you, not just because, somebody sold you out in the crowd, Elder Kevin. God willing that one day, I get swept off my feet and I get a proposal. Captain Kevin will now become my pastor Kevin, who can, have officiate my wedding.
Officiate the wedding. As a matter of fact, there was a time in the regiment when we didn't have a chaplain, and members of the unit wanted to get married. So I actually did their wedding in uniform, which is not the norm, but because I'm a registered marriage officer, I was able to do that within that capacity.
Well, I'm booking you now. I'm gonna, they say write the vision and make it plain. I'm gonna have 2 military pastors. I'm gonna have Dwayne Wellington and I'm gonna have Captain Kevin Jr. and they're gonna be my officiants at my wedding. There's one more person, but I won't tell everybody all my business yet. No, mind you, I don't have the fiance yet, so don't get it twisted out there. And so Kevin, so you're a pastor, you're a strategic advisor, you're mentoring in the community. What would you say are some of your most accomplishments that you're most proud of?
That's easy. Being a father and a husband. Yeah.
I love that, being a father. Why?
Yeah. there's nothing like being able to look at your children, grandchildren, look at your wife, and you're walking down the street, and you know that this is a family unit. I'm gonna back up and go back to Buckingham Palace.
Go ahead.
When we were in England for the Queen Mom's 100th birthday, we wanted to see the changing of the guards. And there are thousands of people that's there. But a little bird told me that because of my position, I might be able to get special privilege. And when I approached the individual, the big gates of Buckingham Palace were opened so that my family were able to go on the palace grounds to watch the changing of the guards. The children were running around the palace grounds like they're in their backyard.
Wow.
And when we walked out of there, my daughter, she was 9 at the time. And I'm gonna have to pay her for this. Whenever I say this, I gotta pay her. She said, "Daddy, we're not rich, but we have access to privilege."
Ooh, somebody write that in the chat. Daddy, we're not rich, but we have access to privilege.
Yes.
And that is a drop the mic moment.
Yes.
That right there. Yeah. I was gonna say what's an inspirational quote, but that right there has gotten me. Is there another guiding principle or quote that has guided you throughout this career that you've had?
My mom's favorite song was, "If I can help somebody as I pass along, then my living shall not be in vain." Right. And then the other one that goes with that is, obstacles are just opportunities for growth.
I love that. I love that. So, well, you're on the Victory Speak show. And so we're going to have a victory question. But I'm going to hold on for a minute because we're going to save the best for last because I know he's going to be dropping it. This is not even going to be a nugget. This is not nuggets time here. This is like a whole gold mine he's going to be dropping on us, Now, you've met many people. I mean, you're telling me that you've been, there was the nursery. I've been to London to visit the Queen. You've actually met the Queen, right?
Yes.
And in life and in death. And is there a person, if you could go to dinner with somebody, who would that be and why?
When I was in Jordan, I went on Mount Nebo and I stood in the spot where Moses stood. And when he stood there, he looked and he saw the promised land, but he didn't get there. I would love to sit down and have tea, have dinner with Moses. Talk about how he was brought up in the house of Pharaoh.
Right.
Brought up to be a proper child. But then he left that because God had a calling on his life. But then he was able to challenge the process, challenge the system, and go back to Egypt and say, by the way, I'm here. And I'm not going to allow you to determine who I am. And then he was able to pull everybody, the children of Israel, out of Egypt, walk through the Red Sea, and lead them through all those challenging times. But he still didn't make it. I would love to have dinner with him. If I were to look at somebody today, I'd like to sit down with Barack Obama and
it's coming.
Have a conversation, and hear about some of his challenges. Hear about the man who respected those who hated him. The man who looked at the world and said, yes, we can. Have that conversation. And can you imagine if I even was able to bring both of them together and have that conversation? Moses on the left hand, Barack on the right hand, and for good measures, bring in Dr. King and see how we can get over to that promised land.
Listen here. I'm writing this in the chat. I'm hoping somebody in virtual world is going to see this, because we need you to have that conversation with President Obama. It needs to happen. And that's a vision you're going to be writing on your vision wall, Captain.
Indeed.
So, best advice. Some of the best advice you've gotten. You've mentioned some before, but is there anything else that sticks out to you?
It's the responsibility of a man to care for his family, keep the discipline in his family, and to make sure that his daughter is strong, his wife is cared for, and his son is given the ability to challenge the process and be strong and respectful. My son, when he was a little bit taller than my wife, his voice was changing, and she told him to do something, and he said no. I stood from a distance and I listened to the conversation, and he was about to lose, but I wanted him to have a bit of a win.
Right.
So I walked over and I said, son, I'm hearing you talk to my wife. She might be your mother, but she's my wife. And you've never heard me talk to her like that. And I won't accept you talking to my wife like that. And then I walked away. Shortly after that, he did what his mom asked. And I didn't leave it there, because my son was bruised at the moment. And it's not my duty to bruise my son, but it's to motivate him. So I took him for a drive. And as we were driving, I said, what happened? He goes, well, your wife, she upsets me. I said, she upsets me too. But you don't see me talking to her like that. And he said, well, Dad, I need to. I said, yeah, you need to challenge her, but you challenge her with respect. And as you challenge her with respect, you'll be all right. I'm okay with you challenging her, but you make sure that you do it with respect, and everything will be okay. Now, I did a couple of things. One, I made him aware that he needs to respect his mother, regardless of how big he is, and let him know that he's got to be in his place.
Right.
But second of all, I made him aware when we went for the drive that I expect him to be respectful. I expect him to be a man. I expect him to lead. And in that, challenge the process. Challenge his mom. And when he learns to challenge his mom, he will learn to challenge the system. And do more than just allowing somebody to boss him around, but have that conversation and know when to do it, know how to do it. And today he's a strong young man doing what he wants to do. And I feel good when I see him, right? Because he's my son. I feel good when I see my daughter, because she's my daughter, right? And I'm proud of them. And my wife is an angel. She's been married to me for 36 years, and she's still putting up with me. So I'm blessed. I'm blessed.
We're going to have to gun our conversation, folks, on fatherhood. We're going to bring some men together, because this here, I don't know who tuned out or who didn't, but you better go back and share this piece on fatherhood. This here was the culmination, because I know fatherhood and parenting and being a husband means the world to you. And Andy says more fathers need to have conversations like with this with their children, young boys especially. And I would venture to say there are a lot of older Black men in particular who need this conversation, who are not being fathers. And it's not because they mean to be mean or vindictive. They just don't know how, or they just didn't have that conversation, or they just didn't have the emotional capacity to have it. So I am loving it. And Sarah, Father of the Year material, you're sure right. Teaching children to challenge parents with respect. And I love that. And Sarah's in your corner because she says we're going to flood the Obama Foundation website with videos. With you, Kevin. We sure are. Okay, so we're almost at the finish line here. And what would you say to your 25-year-old self? I know many people ask that question, but now I'm really curious. What would you have said to your 25-year-old self?
I'd say listen more. Listen more, challenge more, stand taller, and let people know who you are.
And the question would be, how do you let people know who you are with respect?
Let people know who you are with respect, and be in a position where you can always influence the decision that people are making, right? Because it's not always about making the decision, but be in a position where you can influence the decision. Now, I think about the concept of a king and a kingmaker. People look at the king as this really powerful person, but the person that made that king is a lot more powerful than the king himself, right? And I don't necessarily have to be the king, but I'm going to be that kingmaker. I'm going to be that person that influence individuals so much that they're going to make that informed decision. So when it's time for David to come out of the cave and sit on the throne that Saul is leaving, I'm going to be the guy that David's going to call and say, Kevin, is it time? And I'm going to say, God say it's time.
See, this is why I'm sorry, Elaine. You know, I've adopted your brother as my brother. I'm just saying right now, borrowing him, because the prophet is the one. The king can't move without the prophet speaking, and that's what people don't realize. And I always say to people, the gatekeepers, treat them with respect and honor, because the gatekeepers are the ones with the influence. They have the ear. And, we look at prime ministers, we look at presidents, we look at kings, but if you really get into the inner circle, they always have advisors, and the
Yes.
advisors are the ones with the influence.
Yes.
And you better get to know those advisors and stop just looking at the prime minister. And don't just, and then here's the other side of it. You can't just blame. I mean, the king is the one who ultimately makes a decision, but he doesn't make it always by himself. He's always listening for wise counsel. And I would say to anybody, as I listen to Kevin, because you spoke of your fivefold ministry, be it the woman in your life, I'm going to call them the fivefold ministry. That though they were the wisdom keepers for you, that poured such wisdom into you that you were able to make certain decisions and created guiding principles for your life. When I hear about your grandmother to your mother to your daughter to your granddaughter, like, I'm listening to what you're saying, and it is so impactful. And it speaks to your humility. You don't have to tell anybody that you're humble, Kevin. Just this conversation tonight speaks to your humility and the fact that you're able to lead, and why you were able to go into certain doors that you were able to go into and be a man of influence. Now, what does victory look like to you? Because I'm thinking about this, and you're on a victory speak, so everybody has a different way of looking at this. What does victory look like for you?
I'm gonna answer that, but you spoke about the five women. I'm gonna add another one to that. My mother-in-law.
Yes.
I have the absolute best mother-in-law in the world.
Amen.
And she's also been a tower of strength to guide me in my decision making. And that goes to what victory looks like to me. Victory to me is to be a man of influence that can influence individuals who I touch, so they can make an informed decision that's going to be a positive thing for their life. Right? I don't need to make the decision for them, but
Yes.
I need to be able to ask those the right questions. And I'll give an example without getting too much into it. I had a conversation with my daughter when she came to me. She goes, "Daddy, I'm making this decision, and it's a decision I didn't agree with."
Right.
And from there, I started asking her a series of questions. And as I went on, I think I asked her about 6 to 8 questions.
Right.
Strategically placing the questions that she could respond. And by the end of it, she went from making what I consider to be a negative decision to a positive decision. So again, the concept of the left hand, right? The question was, her thought was right in the left hand, but with the questions and everything I did, that informed decision that she made put everything in the right hand where she made that decision. And today, based on that decision, she is living a successful life because of the decision that she made, not me. All I did was influence that decision-making process.
I love it. So what do you want your legacy to be known for, Captain Kevin? 00 Kevin.
I'd like to be known as a guy who loved his family, adored his wife, loved his children, and a man that was able to influence the world. Wherever he went, he was able to do something that influenced somebody to do the right thing. They said that management is doing things right, leadership is doing the right thing. And I want to influence people to do the right thing.
I love that. I really love that. Listen, I hope you people are writing in the chat because I can't even write anymore. He's just like, I'm going to have, this is a masterclass. This is definitely a masterclass. And I'm going to ask you something on a similar tip. But if you were to say like 20 years from now, 30 years from now, what do you think would matter to you most?
Being able to sit down in the backyard on a swing or go by a brook where the water is flowing. My wife sitting beside me and we're sharing a juice or any kind of beverage. And my granddaughter is visiting. My daughter and son, they're coming by to say, "Old man, how you doing?" That would be a moment where I'm saying, this is what life is all about. It's not the military. I served in the Toronto Scottish. I'm now serving in the Queen's Own Rifles of Canada. That's all great stuff.
Yeah.
But it's about the family. To be able to leave them in a better position than I was in. I grew up in subsidized housing. They've never had to live in subsidized housing. My children should be able to make their children better. And right. I would like to be able to sit out there. It doesn't have to be at a dinner table, but it's the family sitting down and we're just having a good time. And I can say, yeah, in Genesis 1, God made man and he said, be fruitful and multiply. And at that moment I can say, Lord, I did what you said that I should be doing.
Yes.
That's life.
And he'll be saying, well done. Given the chance, is there something that you would love to do? Something, maybe a bucket list thing that you haven't done yet? I'm all up in your business tonight, Kevin. All up in your business.
I would. I took the family to Morocco. So they've been on the continent, but I would like to actually take the entire family. Probably Kenya, South Africa, Ghana.
Sarah would be on that trip to Kenya with you. Sarah would be like right there with you on the trip to Kenya.
She's there.
She's there.
I would like to take the family to the continent of
That
the
would be
ancestors.
nice. And especially when I hear you say what your daughter said and your son said, walk that for me. That for me, I try to keep the tears. I think I came off screen because the tears were coming up. Walk that for me. That to me is so significant because they understood right there and then, the significance of it. And Sarah's like coming hot tonight. Captain Judy's very presence is a space commands respect. And I've had the privilege of witnessing that here in Ottawa. Girl, I'm saying if people don't know who he is, y'all better know and you better share tonight, share tonight, share tonight. So you've accomplished a whole heck of a lot, Kevin. What's next? Because you're just in the prime of your life now.
Yes.
Yeah, huge.
Now, I am looking at doing different projects in other areas of the world. I'm looking at the Caribbean, where I'm providing advice and guidance. I'm a member currently of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, where we provide advice and guidance to the government of Jamaica.
Wow.
So I do some projects. I've been asked to provide some advice in other countries, including African countries. So I want to use my knowledge to assist others in whatever way possible. And the government of Canada and the province of Ontario, they have put a lot of money into educating me to be the person that I am. So I now want to use the tacit knowledge that I've gained over the years to now help my people and anyone who needs it.
I love that. That is to be commended. So as we wrap up, look at you see Sarah's not letting up. She's like, I'm there, Kenya for sure. So we are doing this wonderful interview, this conversation, this celebrating this trailblazer now while he's alive, because we're giving people their flowers while they're alive. And November the 11th is coming up. It's Veterans Day in Canada coming up. What are you, Kevin, doing in terms of the veterans? On what are you going to be doing on the 11th? We used to do an event together years ago, but what are you going to be doing this time?
We have a new commander for HMCS York, Commander Paul Smith. And when Paul arrived, he contacted Ron Fanfare about doing something in the Black community. And Ron connected the commander with me right away. And he said, Kevin, I want to do something. So we will be partnering with the JCA, Jamaica Canadian Association. We will do a small ceremony there. And the focus will be on remembering our Black veterans, not just in Canada, but our West Indian veterans. And, we're going to go through the normal agenda for that day. But one of the changes that I'm recommending is, Flanders Field is a great poem, but we have Captain George Borden. He's written a wonderful lament. We've got Kathy Grant's dad, Owen Rowe. He wrote a wonderful poem. We will insert those poems into the celebration. So it's going to be an event remembering all veterans, but we're going to focus on the Black veterans, the ones that came before us, the ones who fought for the right to spill their blood on foreign soil, the ones who fought for the right to put on Canadian uniform. They weren't given weapons like other soldiers, but they were, in my mind, they were slaves in uniform. But God bless them that they did that with respect and they followed the commands that were given to them. We're going to remember them, and we're going to remember men like Ainsworth Dyer, who died in Afghanistan, and other Black soldiers that died, and the ones that are now serving. I've been blessed to be able to lead and command a number of Black men and women, and on that day, we're going to remember them. Remember the challenges that they face. We have Black soldiers who are living right now in a challenging time because even in the medical world. They're going through PTSD. They're going through other cases, and it's documented that racism impact our health, our mental health, and our health in ways that people don't even understand. So on that day, we're going to celebrate our Black men and women in uniform, and thank God that He's brought us this far. And I don't believe that He's brought us this far to leave us.
And so, how do we, as Canadians, as people in the community, how can we support our veterans that are here with us still, and how do we even support the families?
Um, within the Black community, we are a tight knit group, right? If you know the family of a soldier, every so often just checking on, hey, how you doing, right? I was away for 8 months from my family, and I thank God for the church. I thank
Yeah.
God for extended family. I thank God for the community that would check in on them regularly. So if you know families, please check in on them. See how you're doing. If you see a Black soldier, he or she is going through a lot more than you think. Because
Right.
I remember the days when, you know, I would go home, take off my uniform, and just say, that's it, I'm not going back. But I had a praying mother and a mother that would say, okay, it's time to put back on the uniform. But not everybody still have that.
Yeah.
So that's where we need to support them. And when they've got challenges, networks are great. You need to have a strong network, a professional network, and you also need a network where you can just be the person behind the uniform. Just be a real person
Yeah.
and just talk to somebody. So be there for them, talk with them, and realize that we're all here to help each other.
I love it.
And
Sarah says, contact your local
and
legions to
the
find out
Legion.
if they have any black veterans.
Um,
And we did the thing, find a vet, thank a vet, find one, thank one, even if it's a card. And you also, just as we wrap up, because we've spoken about the man behind the uniform, but the uniform has played, and what you've done in the armed the forces has done so much, and you're an inspiration to just people, giving them the courage, and we see the many facets to you. Um, are there any other projects? Because I know between you, Sarah, and Kathy, are there any projects that we need to know about in the land? Um, Before we go, that you
well,
want to be aware of?
there's actually a documentary that is coming out on the 11th.
Yes, Thursday night. Yes.
Yes, right.
Let me pull that up. Let me find that. Yes, go ahead.
And it speaks to the challenges of Black men and women. And I know Kathy was interviewed on that. A number of veterans, myself, we were interviewed to, talk about the experience, talk about what they went through, and to recognize them now, to give them the roses now, and not wear a
Yes.
poppy for them later on.
Yes. Beautiful. Totally beautiful. So I'm going to be tuning in on Thursday night. And so, Kevin, I'm going to give you the last word. And before we end the show tonight, I'm going to make sure that I share. I just put in the chat for folks. It's going to be a Thursday night at 9 p.m. on the History Channel. If you don't have it, maybe you need to get it this month, because it might be worth it. And I think the History Channel has a lot of they've done a few documentaries on Black veterans. CBC did something. I remember watching something with you and Kathy on CBC. Dwight Drummond did an interview. There's some really good information, and I would just encourage people to share, share, share. Go to the Black Veterans Facebook page, because Kathy Grant is the guru of an historian, bar none, that is out there in Canadian space. I'm not talking American, I'm talking about in the Canadian landscape, that has been, I mean, just her page alone, every day. She doesn't just deal with veterans one day or once a week. She deals with it all the time. So if you want to know more, I would encourage you. But however, Kevin, I'm going to give you, you know, an opportunity to say anything else you want to say that we haven't touched, or anything you want to share The floor is yours. I'm yielding the mic to you.
I've been blessed. I've been really blessed. You know, a guy left Jamaica, didn't know what life would be like in Canada. When we got here, my mom pulled out the living room sofa, and that's where we slept. And we had friends that was over, so we all slept together there. And God has opened doors so that I can be the man that I am today. And I have a family that is so great. I was able to marry this beautiful young lady in 19.
Don't mess it up. Don't mess it up.
And she is still my heartthrob, and I pray God that we continue to live the life that He's given us, and if we can just continue to be who we are, and be an example to somebody. Sometimes she get tired of me, and that's expected because I am Kevin, so she's gonna get tired of Kevin. But He's blessed us with children and grandchildren, and the world out there has taken me into their arms. I remember when I went to Ghana, and the ladies wrapped me into the traditional garment in the middle of the store, and they said, "You're one of us." The Lord has given me a network that has always protected me. The word said that word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path, and put all the whole armor that He'd be able to stand against a wild. So God has protected me. He has put me in a position where He's kept me in the secret place of the Most High, so that all I have to do is open my mouth and He will speak. So I'm just a vessel to be used, and I just ask God to continue to use me, and that I will do what He will. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to spend the night in a conversation with you. And I pray that God will continue to bless you in your ministry, and that whatever you do, that you'll be successful. And thank you, and God bless you.
Oh, Kevin, thank you, Daisy. Don't make me cry on my own show now. Don't do that now, Kevin. And I just hope everybody who was here live and on the replay that you totally enjoyed this conversation, and that you will share, because there was so many great nuggets and diamonds and rubies and pearls that Kevin shared here tonight. Whether it was on fatherhood, whether it is on being a man, whether it is on being a son, whether it is being a leader, there was so much shared tonight. And you can listen to the replay. Victory Speaks 7 on YouTube. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. There's so many great interviews there. And Victory Speaks 77 on Facebook. Remember, sharing is caring. And, every day I encourage you to seek to have an inspired conversation with someone you love, someone you meet along the way or have met along the way. And your conversations will be inspired by your truth, your story, your love, and make sure they're meaningful. And it also is, sometimes it just starts with a smile. And I hope you get to see the victory in your day and in the times during the week. And I'm going to see if I can share my screen one last time before we go out and show the little snippet. I found the snippet of the trailer for Thursday. Sarah, thank you for tuning in, and everyone who has tuned in and been part of the conversation. And I am totally inspired, and I am fired up to do more. And so thank you. See, your sister is still on the line. She's still here. Thank you, Elaine, and share, Elaine, share it with the folks, because I think we need to celebrate your brother and your family. And I am saying a special thank you to your wife, Kevin, for allowing me to have you here on the line, and giving me the grace when it's almost that time of night where you should be almost in snuggle land. So I really appreciate her right now. And so let's see if we can share this beautiful piece here, and then Kevin and I will be bidding you adieu. If it will work, it may or may not work. I don't know. It doesn't want to work tonight. I just had it up. The beautiful thing was up. Um, but I will put it in the chat if it doesn't want to come up again. It doesn't look like it wants to come up, but it definitely is something that we all need to see. This documentary that is going to be aired on Thursday night at 9 o'clock. And that's the link there. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to try one more time. We're not giving up. No matter what, Kevin is teaching me that I am not going to give up.
You can always go to the right hand.
On the right hand. It's coming. It's coming. We're going to see if we're going to get this to work one more time. And I'm going to make it work. I'm not going to make it work. Technology is going to cooperate tonight, and we're going to get it to work, because I think people need to see this documentary. I'm not showing you the whole documentary. Don't get too excited, people. You got to tune in. And the History Channel did not pay me to do this. This is something that that I am just sharing because I think it's worthy of you seeing. Okay, so now we're going to share it. We're going to make sure that you get it. It's going to pop up on the screen momentarily. And hold on. Wait for it. Wait for it, people. It's coming. And, well, you need sound.
Braving the deadliest conflict in human history.
The infantry suffered so many casualties.
They faced a different kind of war at home.
He had been rejected because he was black.
These type of attitudes were across.
We're going to do that again. We're going to do that again. We're going to do that.
Black Canadian soldiers.
It didn't do what I wanted it to do.
We are fighting for equality of all people.
Black liberators, World War
But you're hearing it. Hold on. I am not giving up hope, people. I am not.
Is it the Black Liberators, right?
The Black Liberators.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to do this one last time. Bear with me, my beautiful people. And we're going to show this to
Before
you.
braving
There
the
you go.
deadliest conflict in human history.
The infantry suffered so many casualties.
They faced a different kind of war at home.
He had been rejected because he was black.
These type of attitudes were across Canada.
History presents the historic stories and struggles
Never was so scared in my life.
of Black Canadian soldiers during World War II.
We are fighting for equality of all people.
Black Liberators, World War II, a Remembrance Day special, premieres November 11th on History.
Listen, that is going to be something special. So for everybody live and on the replay, if you're catching it on the replay, hopefully you'll find out when it's going to be sharing. But for us now, Captain Kevin Junor, I salute you. Am I supposed to be doing it with my right hand or my left hand? I don't know. I left Girl Guides a long time ago, and but I salute you, and I salute every person, every man and woman, and especially every Black veteran. And today is Indigenous Veterans Day that has served, and the peacekeepers and those that have not returned home. We send our love, and our arms are wrapped around their families tonight. So thank you, everybody, for tuning into the Victory Speak show. And remember to let your victory speak. God bless.
Bless.